I've traded supply and demand for over 4 years. It's a strategy that took me out of my DoorDashing job and allowed me to become a full-time trader and travel the world with my profits. In this video, I'm going to go over the best method to trade supply and demand zones in 2024 because trust me, I have tried everything. And there's one secret way to draw these supply and demand zones that is way more accurate than the rest, and in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So let me dive in the charts, and by the end of this video, you'll be a supply and demand zone master. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, the first thing when it comes to trading supply and demand is that you need to understand what actually is supply and demand in the first place and how price actually likes to move. And there's one key word I really want you to remember throughout this entire video, and that's going to be speed. Okay, speed is by far the most absolute important piece of principle or ideology you need to know if you want to become successful with supply and demand. And just to give you a quick overview of this before I get into actual drawing of the zones, you can obviously see, just looking at Apple on a 1-hour chart, that we have two different pieces of price action, right? We have this kind of area right here where it's kind of, very kind of choppy, a little more slower up and down. And then we have this area right here where it's kind of just like straight up and it's just like going really fast, okay? And you could tell that obviously this has a lot more speed than this does, okay? And the way to identify speed is really just understanding that if we have a fast move with large candles and pretty much no wicks, okay? You can see here we don't have a lot of wicks. Price just goes straight up, not any pullbacks. Here we have a lot more pullbacks, a few wicks, very more choppy up and down. It's just visually easier to see that this is fast and this is not fast, okay? And the only reason I bring this up is because it's really important to understand the best supply and demand zones are going to come from speed, okay? And what I mean by that is that demand zones are going to always come before a large move. So you always want to make sure when you're drawing these supply and demand zones, they're only sticking to the best setups. And that's going to be the ones that have a lot of speed, like this, where in this case, this instance would be the demand zone. We'll get into drawing that in a second. But that's a very, very important theme throughout this video. You're going to need to understand speed is key. Now, with that in mind, let's go ahead and dive into the 4 different types of supply and demand. Now, you may have already seen this before. If you haven't, it's a quick overview, but there's 4 different types of supply and demand zones. We have 2 that are bullish and 2 that are bearish, okay? And the bullish ones are going to be a drop, a base, and a rally, or a rally, a base, and a rally. And the bearish ones are going to be opposite, right? We have a rally, we have a base, we have a drop, and then we have a drop, we have a base, and then we have a drop. And again, at the end of the day, supply and demand zones are all based off price action. And price action is all based off 2 different theories, right? The theory that price is either going to be trending up or trending down, or price is going to be consolidating. And the way supply and demand zones works is we look for those moments where price shifts from this kind of consolidation into a trend move, okay? And you can kind of see we have that here. If I go ahead and get rid of these zones, you can see that we kind of have this nice little consolidation here. You can see how it's back and forth. And then we have a pretty clear, obvious trend that happens right here, okay? And that shift from going into a consolidation into a trend move shows us that there is a demand zone, okay? And so when I say base, especially in rally, base, drop, it's in all of these, right? What I'm meaning is that we have this kind of consolidation phase, right? Where price is just very choppy, very back and forth. And then rally or a drop is going to be something that looks like this, where price is going straight up or straight down in a very fast matter of price action, okay? And so all these zones are going to be drawn off of these bases, right? So we have a base that would look like that. We have a base right here would look like that. Base right here would look like this, and then base right here would look like this. And we always draw the zones back out so we can go ahead and trade the replay off of them, right? So when price comes back, we come back into that zone, we're going to expect it to come back out. Okay, same thing with here. Price comes back into the zone, we expect it to go back out, just like that. Now, the key issue that a lot of people mess up when it comes to these zones is actually how they draw them. Because obviously I'm drawing this on like a line chart just with some animations on TradingView. And I'm going to show you some examples later in this video going over more specifically how to draw it on the actual chart. But a lot of people get this wrong because they may have a zone that kind of looks like this, right? Like that. And then maybe price action looks a little bit crazy, kind of like this. And then they end up drawing their zone, maybe we'll say they draw their zone something like this in the wrong area. And the price comes down, doesn't touch it, and then it keeps going higher. And then they miss a really good move just because they draw their zone wrong. And so one of them I'm going to do in this video is show you how to draw the zone right on the actual charts, okay? But first, before we do that, we need to actually describe what are high-quality charts and what are high-quality supply-demand zones with real examples. So I'm going to show you a few different examples just like this. So the first one being pretty obvious on Apple, right? If I go to Apple, and again, time frame, we're going to get into that, but let's just say we go to a 4-hour time frame. This is a high quality zone. Okay, you can see it's a very fast move compared to previous price action. It goes straight up. We have no pullbacks. This is going to be a very high quality zone. Definitely one that you're going to look out for when it comes to trading these types of supply and demand zones, right? Another one is going to be Tesla. If I zoom out and I show you Tesla, a beautiful zone on Tesla is going to be right here, just like this. Okay, and you can see we have a nice rally-based drop. What does price do? Price has a nice rally. We have about 4 days of consolidation. We have a fast drop a lot lower. What does price do? Price comes back up to that supply zone. We just barely scrape the top, and then we end up going back lower. Okay, just like that, really solid. We actually come back down to a pretty good demand zone right here, which we end up bouncing off of right there. Okay, but this is a really good supply zone. I'm definitely going to touch on this later because this is a good example of how I want to draw these zones. Okay, all right, and so just to show you guys one more example, if we go over here to SPY, this was on a major drop that we had over here. You can see price had a nice drop. One candle of base, nice pop higher. This demand zone right here is going to be like that. We come right down in that zone. We end up rallying a lot higher, just like that. Okay, so these are all high quality zones. Why are they high quality? They have very fast speed. It's one of the 4 zones that we talked about, and it just goes straight up. You can see we have no pullbacks. It goes straight up. It's a really high quality zone, and obviously all of them worked. Now, when it comes to actually drawing these zones, I want to get into that right now because a lot of people get it wrong, and you've probably heard before that you simply just want to look at the candle before or the opposite side candle, right? So if I show you guys a quick example, let me zoom in here on like a 30-minute chart. Actually, I'm going to zoom in here to like a 4-hour chart. So this is ES on a 4-hour chart, okay? ES futures. And you can see that price had a nice demand zone form right here, right? You can see this is a rally, base rally. If I zoom out, you can see price had a nice move higher, nice little consolidation, another fast move higher. So this area is where our demand zone is going to be. Now, you've probably been taught, once you see a demand zone, you want to look at the candle that is either red in a demand zone or green in a supply zone and use that one beforehand, okay? And you'd go from the high to the low of that area. So we take the high of the last candle like so, bring it down to the low, and then that would be our demand zone, okay? Now, this is how I was taught, and it's honestly not the best way to trade these zones, okay? It does work, and it's a general good rule of thumb, but if you want to get more advanced, a little bit more intricate to have better detail of your zones, there's better ways to do it. And I'm going to get into that in a second here. But you can see in this example here, you actually would have missed a pretty decent bounce, right? Price came back down. We had a nice bounce to it by like 20 points or so, and you wouldn't have caught that, okay? Now, again, it's too hard to tell. Price could definitely come back here and then keep moving higher. However, you want to make sure that you're actually drawing your zones in the right place, okay? And if you were to do it with my new method, then you actually would have been able to catch this move, okay? And so here's how my method works. And the first rule when it comes to this is that it doesn't matter what the candle is before, okay? If this was a green candle, it wouldn't have mattered, okay? The point being, when you're trading supply and demand, you want to look for the actual type of consolidation. You want to know and understand what happens right before the move. Right, so sometimes we'll have a demand zone that looks like this. Maybe we'll come up a little bit, we'll have a little more, and then we'll keep going higher. Okay, and the reality is, if we're looking at something like this, the actual demand zone is going to be right here, and you may not be able to see this on a higher time frame. Okay, this may look a little bit different. And so if we're looking right here on a 4-hour chart, obviously we would draw our zone like that. But what you want to do is actually go from a top-down analysis. You want to start with a 4-hour chart, draw your zone, and then start to zoom in. So we'll go to a 2-hour next. Doesn't really change much here. We'll go to a 1-hour. Again, don't really change much. Don't really see anything. We'll go to a 30-minute here. And then wait a second. We see something here on this 30-minute, right? We see that we have a nice little move higher. We have another rally-based rally right here. Okay, it happens right above our original 4-hour zone like this, okay? And this is the actual zone that you want to be looking at when it comes to drawing these zones, because you're going to miss this if you don't start from a higher time frame analysis and then zoom in to a lower time frame analysis, okay? Because that's what you need to do if you want to catch these zones. And if I go ahead and I draw this zone here, same rules apply, right? So I take that we have a nice fast move higher, right? We have a rally, we have a base, we have another rally. I simply just look at the candle before. It doesn't matter whether it's green or red. Just take the candle before from the high to low, and I extend that out, okay? And if I go ahead and go like this, let me go ahead and move this out a little bit. If I go ahead and go like this, you can see that we actually get a nice little bounce from this zone, okay? And otherwise, if we were just looking at the 4-hour, we wouldn't have actually caught that. But simply by using this, we are going to know exactly where the supply demand zone is. And the way you want to draw these is simply by not thinking of like candles. You don't want to think about like where are the next candle before, how does that work? You simply just want to look at where is that consolidation right before the move happens. Where's the last piece of like actual consolidation that happens right before the move, okay? And I want to show you another example like this on Tesla. Now, this is a really good example. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. And if I go ahead to the daily chart on Tesla, you're going to see a really nice example just like this, okay? So again, this was a rally-based drop zone that we had earlier in the video, right? So we had a nice little price rally up here, consolidation, nice fast move lower, okay? Really good supply zone in this area. Now, how do we actually identify where to draw our zones in this area here, okay? Now, one school trick that you can use as well, and this is something that I love to use when it comes to drawing my zones, is actually looking at volume profile, okay? So if I go to indicators, I go over here to technicals, profiles, visible range volume profile, and I go ahead and click that. It's going to pull up a nice volume profile chart just like this, okay? And you can see that simply by looking at this chart here. You may have to zoom out, zoom in a little bit, get a better understanding of how it actually works. I'm going to zoom into like a 2-hour chart just so we can get a good understanding of what our zone actually looks like here. You can see something pretty interesting with this volume profile. You can see, if I let it load right here, you can see that we have kind of this low volume node right here. Okay, so kind of in this area, let me go ahead and get my drawing tool here. So you can see we're kind of looking at it like a volume profile aspect. We kind of come inside here, and then we kind of come back out here. We have a little point, and then we go back inside, okay? And the thing that's interesting is that supply and demand is very much like volume profile, where price is not really relative over time, right? Price is simply just an act of time. And so if we're using it as if time doesn't exist, which I know is kind of hard to explain, if price is coming up here and I keep going up and up and up, there's going to be something blocking me, right? Let's say my price is right here and we're going up and up and up. There's going to be something blocking me, right? Right here we're open, and then boom, we have a wall of volume that's going to be stopping me from moving higher. And that's how I want to look at my zones, right? You want to look at where does that actual wall kind of stop, right? Or start, right? So if I have a zone that looks like this, I say, okay, this wall kind of starts right here. I can extend it out, and then boom, price comes up right to this area and then ends up moving lower. So by looking at volume profile, you can kind of get a good sense of where that actual price shift goes from a low volume node to a high volume node, and that's where your zone is going to be. And again, let's just say, obviously looking at a daily chart, this is going to be a really clean zone, okay? You can see we have a nice daily chart. So if we just took the candle before, draw it out, it would have worked out perfectly well, right? We would have had a nice consolidation move out of there. However, let's say we zoom in to like a 1 hour, just as we were going before. What do you want to notice, and what do you actually see? Well, you see that if price were to come back up to here, okay, and again, let's say time is irrelevant. So it doesn't matter if time is, we're looking at time up here. Let's just say price is looking to get back up to this area, okay? There's going to be a wall of volume. It's pretty easy to see, we have this support line. That's going to be a huge wall, right? So if I kind of extend this out, right, as this is my support line, it's going to be tough for price to get back above it because there's so much volume here in the way. There's so much price action, previous, kind of buyers that are going to be holding this area down when price starts to move back out. And so if you can kind of start in a daily or weekly time frame and then zoom into like a 1 hour or 2 hour, you're going to get a pretty good sense of where to actually start your zones. Okay, and in this area, it's pretty obvious. This is where our wall is going to be. And again, if I bring out volume profile, you're going to see a pretty good example that we have this kind of wall starting just like this. So again, same thing. Price is pretty open, right? We have a nice little open range of volume. That means price is welcome. Price can freely move wherever it wants to. And then let's just say, again, I'm looking to move higher, and then boom, I get caught on this little wall. There's a bunch of, bunch of things in the way preventing me from letting price get over this wall to continue moving higher. And that is kind of what your supply and demand zone is going to look like. So if you have this drawn out, you can kind of start your supply zone simply by looking at volume profile and then extend it out like that. So this is actually what I would draw as a zone when looking at supply and demand. And if you can go and extend it out, you can see we touch it pretty nice and then end up moving back lower like so. And so I want to go ahead and show you another example to make this a little bit easier for you guys. So I'm going to take a look at Amazon. Okay, we're going to go ahead. We're actually going to get rid of the volume profile for now, make it really clean. You can see we have a nice rally-based zone here. So again, let me go to like a 4-hour chart, right? And what do you notice on this 4-hour chart like so? We have a nice rally. We have about 2 candles of consolidation and then a rally higher, right? This is our rally, base rally. If I go ahead and extend that out, rally, base, rally, okay? Now, again, we start with the 4-hour. Let's go down to a 2-hour, okay? Maybe we go down to a 1 hour even. And you can see that we have an actual idea of where this actual kind of base starts and where this base actually forms. And you can see if I zoom in like so, it forms right in this area here, right? All we're looking to do with supply and demand is figure out where that base happens right before that move higher. And in this instance, it's going to be this entire kind of block right here, right? I'm not just looking at this one candle beforehand. I'm looking at where is the actual entire consolidation move? Where is this entire kind of blob of price action or consolidation phase? That is where I want to be able to draw my entire zone. So I would draw it exactly like this. And then if I go and extend it out, we had a nice little move off of that. And again, you can keep moving in and zooming in on like a 15 or a 30 minute. At the end of the day, you just want to understand where is that kind of blob? Where is that consolidation? It's obviously going to be right here. We have a nice little tight consolidation, nice little move higher. And if I zoom out and I start looking at like a daily chart, it gets really hard to kind of figure out where this actually supply demand zone starts, right? You probably wouldn't even have seen it on a daily chart looking at it like this, right? 4-hour chart, maybe you would have seen it right here. But by zooming in and actually understanding like where is just the consolidation and where do I want to see price bounce off of, it's going to be right here. And price comes back down. We have a nice bounce off it. Now we're moving higher. Okay, and that's all price does. Price is always going from this, consolidation area to a expansion area where it's going from trend to consolidation, trend to consolidation. And anytime you have that kind of shift from trend to consolidation, so it's going to be right in this kind of area here, that price action is where price is going to reverse. Okay, right in that shift from, this is where we had that previous resistance to this is where we finally broke out. That is going to be a good area where price is going to go ahead, come back down, and then actually bounce off of that like a demand zone as stated. And so by simply looking at the actual consolidation, zooming in on timeframes, and using volume profile, you can have a really good understanding of how to draw these zones and how to make a ton of money trading supply and demand. Now, if you are someone who's interested in learning more about supply and demand, what I've done is I've actually created a free community and course for you using the first link in the description below. Okay, and it's called The Vault. It's just right here. And if I should go ahead and show you the classroom, we go over to Supply Demand Mastery course. We have a free supply demand course for you right here. So we go over more in depth on how to draw these zones, where to put your entries and stops, understanding high versus low quality zones, and then also understanding why zones fail and how to understand that so you're not simply trading a bunch of zones that keep failing, okay? And we also have it in a written form as well if you want to go ahead and check that out like this, okay? So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, go ahead, check out that link in the description. Go ahead and join the Vault. It's an incredible community. We have over like 5,000 members in it right now, and it's 100% free if you go ahead and join right now. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.